Okay, hello everyone. Sorry for that brief moment of setting up. I'm going to give a quick introduction to something I term the OREMA project. I'm going through kind of the ethos and everything that encompasses it. There's going to be a few presentations from some of the contributors later on, but hopefully I'm just going to give you a brief introduction for those people who aren't aware and go into a bit more detail about the ethos for those of you who already know what the OREMA project is. So, for those of you who don't know, your first question might be, well, what is OREMA? Well, OREMA is an acronym for the Online Repository for Electroacoustic Music Analysis. It is a website, it's a community website, and this community website is a place where people can upload analyses and then actually comment on other people's analyses and have online discussions in the forum on the subject of electroacoustic music analysis. The focus, I should say, is mainly on oral analysis at this moment in time. That's not to say that's the only focus, but the majority of analyses that are currently on that are of an oral nature. Often I ask myself this question, why OREMA? I had this idea when I first came up with the concept of OREMA that's much like a piece of a musical work. There is an author, or there's in this case an analyst, who creates something, and in this case it's an analysis which describes a piece of music. And normally the reason they do this is they want to try and communicate ideas or offer a perspective on a particular piece of work. And then there is obviously an audience who obviously read this or listen to this analysis, and then interpret it in their own way and trying to get something on it from it. The thing that I noticed is that it's very much a one-way street, and there's no two-way communication. And what I was hoping with OREMA was that if, for example, the audience, the reader, once reading the analysis, has some maybe questions or constructive criticism, how would they then talk to the analyst? And vice versa, if the analyst over time thinks, well, the analysis I did, it's not aged very well. There's some concepts that I had that I'm not so sure on now, and I would love to hear this constructive criticism. How can I better, counteract that? And the thing that OREMA allows you to do is, first of all, gives you a space in which an audience can actually communicate with an analyst, but also this analyst can go back and reimagine their analysis. It's not set in stone as if you were to submitted to a journal. So this kind of comes into the idea, which is the whole presentation that's going to take place, this idea of community. And that's the fundamental kind of aspect of the OREMA project itself. So within a community, you often have an ethos or a credo, and there's one within the OREMA project, which I'm going to outline now. The first point, which is probably the most obvious, is that the OREMA project is there to analyse electroacoustic music. But using electroacoustic music in an umbrella term, it's going to look not only at axiomatic but also at installations, electronica, and verging out into the other realms within that umbrella itself. I also have borrowed this from. Back. This is the problem when you have lovely transitions. Is you can never gauge when the spacebar is actually chosen to listen to you. Let's try again. Okay. So, I borrowed this from Natias, and he said that there's no one true analysis. And in fact, I don't know if Brett Batty's here, but Brett Batty brought up a nice, he made a nice quote in the original symposium, which was that analysis is a map, it's not the territory. And you have different maps to outline that same territory. And I think having different perspectives on the work is a very healthy way of looking at it. And OREMA is a platform for sharing different maps, as it were, for different for works of electroacoustic music. Something I haven't mentioned, which is part of the OREMA project, is there's this analytical toolbox. And when I say analytical toolbox, I don't mean software. I mean ideas, methodologies, and strategies to analyse a piece of axiomatic or electroacoustic music. Specifically things like spectral morphology or typomorphology fall into that category. Now on the website there's a there's kind of a table where I've assembled a few of them in kind of a wiki style selection where the participants can actually make amendments and draw up a general consensus. But saying that, there's no kind of general understood strategy that we have to implement within the OREMA project. In fact, we encourage participants to perhaps develop their own methodologies, especially for some of the other electroacoustic musics that don't fall into kind of traditional acousmatic standards. Another one that's quite important for me personally is that there's no hierarchy. Often when I see these online forums for electroacoustic music or the email lists, there's this kind of unspoken hierarchy which between kind of professors and students, and I try to avoid that as much as possible within OREMA so that everyone has the same rights in terms of being able to contribute. I've encountered issues with this as well because professors obviously want to comment and certain people don't want to comment because they're fearful of what the professors might say. But hopefully it still gives you that sense of freedom and ability to actually talk to one another. And finally, another important point for me is that all the information is free. And it's not only free to users, but it's also free to non-users. So if you're a non-user, you can access all the content on the site. You just can't contribute. But again, you can register for free. So if you want to contribute, you can do that as well. All the authors who submitted things to the OREMA project are protected under a Creative Commons license, in which allows you to make variations as long as you make an attribution to the actual original author. So, since November, what's happened? Well, OREMA is now running on a Drupal platform. For those of you who might recall, who were here in the first symposium, I was documenting the differences between the two platforms, and I'm happy to announce that now it's running solely on a Drupal platform. Registration is now open to anyone, so I commend anyone here who is interested to join. I would very much appreciate your contributions.
Might just point out that there is a typo on that first bullet point.
Is there?
The OREMA website is on the Drupal.
Sorry, I see that now. Sorry. I should have read that back, but it is on a Drupal website, so ignore the negative there. It's not right. Okay, so there's a total of 12 analyses that have been submitted directly to the OREMA project. There's on top of that another 5 with external links, but I must mention that they don't fall under the same umbrella as the Creative Commons license. But the OREMA project currently has 12 analyses hosted on it. And I'm going to announce now that the official alpha release of the OREMA project will take place on the 14th of March. It could have been today, but I wanted, it's still within the beta, so it's still within a year, I guess. So in order to frame it in the right sense before I try and market it out and get as much interest as possible. So, any of you who were here on the November symposium might remember this slide where I talked about MediaWiki, which was the initial platform, the problems that I had with it, which was that it wasn't very user-friendly. It was hard to navigate, it's difficult to maintain, and there was no notifications. I'm happy to announce that they're all improvements now. Now it's much more intuitive, I would argue, but it's also for my benefit and my sanity. There's a sense of self-maintenance, and now there is email notifications. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick demonstration of what OREMA currently looks like. Okay, so this is the front page of the OREMA website. I hope I logged into it. Basically, your navigation takes place all up in this corner here. So you have analyses, analytical toolbox, links to past symposiums. This symposium is being recorded and will be put here as well, and links to the forums. Let's see, we do have internet access. Yes. So if I click on analyses, I'm taken to a list where you actually have them organised by composition. I can click on any of these, so if I click on my analysis, not to give away if anyone else's here, this is the sort of page you might be greeted with, which is obviously, if they do choose to upload the information directly to the website, they can do that. Images and various other things, tables, but also you can upload files as well, which if you're using Chrome can be actually opened up within the browser. So this is my analysis of Pièce-Feuille's Tudor Chemin de Fer. And also at the bottom, there's obviously a place for people to comment within the community with lovely pictures denoting who's actually commented. The analytical toolbox functions in the same way, so you have a table, and these, as I said, function similarly to a kind of a Wikipedia article. So if I click on one of these, you'll be taken to an article describing typomorphology. There'll be references at the bottom, and any user can actually make edits to this if they don't agree wholeheartedly with potentially what I put or someone else has put, to try and build up a consensus within the actual project itself. And finally, there's the online forums. Majority of discussions happen here, where people can post topics and then discussion happens there. So that's the basic functionality of the OREMA project. I'm just going to quickly demonstrate. I'm going to log into my fictitious person. So if I'm logged in, you'll notice that there's a new option here to add content. So beforehand, in the original platform, I had to go through many different pages just to upload a single image. Now you just click on analysis if that's what you want to do, and you have just one page to actually upload all the information on. And then once you press save, the actual system itself automatically distributes that into the right place and into the right categories. And that's my very brief introduction. If you do want to visit it, it's www.orema.dmu.ac.uk. Okay, so I'm going to briefly talk about what I've learned in this wonderful first year. The first thing is that an active community is key, especially for this project in particular. And I kind of outlined two types of users, and they are active and passive users. And the ratio tends to be more on the passive side. Many people kind of fear uploading analyses for the world to see. But the hope is that as long as there is some users, even if they are passive, they will eventually perhaps have some contribution to make. So long as there is users, I'm relatively happy. Based on the original version, which was the MediaWiki, everything needs to be quick and easy. Hopefully you can see now it's much more user-friendly, much more intuitive. And the most important, perhaps, there needs to be added value for people to actually try and get involved with this particular project. The people who will be presenting later, this was part of kind of their reward for presenting, for doing an analysis on OREMA, was to be able to present their analysis here. Unfortunately, I can't keep offering this, so I need to find other ways of enticing people. So hopefully, my contention is that if there is a community there, if there is an active community of practitioners, that's the draw itself. And unfortunately, it's kind of a funny thing because I need to have the community there to have that added value. So over the next few months after March, hopefully I'll see some interest. So I'm going to hand it over to my first presenter, who is, I forget, Manuela. Thank you. I'm happy to answer questions afterwards, but I'm going to quickly move on so everyone else gets